Welcome back. Israel declaring the ceasefire with Hamas is now over as the IDF launches a deadly wave of airstrikes into Gaza overnight. Officials say that the terrorist group has refused to release the remaining Israeli hostages, sparking the barrage of strikes aimed at Hamas targets. More than 300 reportedly killed in those strikes. Meanwhile, President Trump sending a warning to Yemenis Houthi rebels and Iran. He posted this on Truth Social. Quote, every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran. And Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences. And those consequences will be dire. Joining me now is Florida Senator Rick Scott, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations, Homeland Security, and Armed Services Committees. Senator, thanks very much for being here. How do you want the United States to handle Iran?
Well, they're our enemy. The government of Iran has decided to be our enemy. They've chanted death to America for decades now. So if we don't destroy their opportunity to create a nuclear weapon, we're foolish. We're foolish if we want any chance of survival long term in the world. If they get a nuclear weapon, first they'll use it against Israel, then they'll use it against America. That's what's going to happen. And these proxies, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, I mean, it's Iran. Iran's doing this. So the world needs to wake up. One, we've got to do our part. Israel's got to do their part. But Europe's got to do their part. Every democracy in the world has got to say, stop doing business with Iran. The only way we can do it is hopefully we have to destroy their economy. It's horrible for the Iranian people, but it's the only way to prevent them from having a nuclear weapon. And maybe we're going to have to go in, or Israel's going to have to go in and destroy their ability to create a nuclear weapon, because they cannot have a nuclear weapon. So thank God Trump's there. Thank God Marco Rubio's around, Mike Waltz, all these guys that are going to do everything they can to hold Iran accountable. The world has to hold them accountable for what they're doing.
Well, you're on the Senate Foreign Relations as well as the Senate Intelligence Committees. Do you know how close Iran is to having a nuclear weapon? Without talking about anything I might have that's classified, I think they're very close. I think we all have to understand that they're very close. And so something's going to happen, has to happen to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon, I believe. I see. And do you feel we are in the final days? Something is going to happen? I mean, that post from President Trump was chilling. I
believe that Donald Trump will make sure Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. I also believe that Netanyahu will make sure Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. I believe that will happen.
Okay.
And thank God for both of them.
Let me move on to Russia and Ukraine, because the president is set to hold a phone call with Vladimir Putin today. They want to discuss a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. We're not sure how Putin will react, but he's reportedly expected to ask the U.S. to stop all arms sales to Ukraine. The White House now pushing back on this report that President Trump is weighing his options to potentially recognize Crimea as Russian territory. Senator, what are your expectations here?
I don't have high expectations for that Putin will do the right thing. He's a war criminal. He's killed a lot of Ukrainians. He clearly was the aggressor. He invaded Ukraine. My heart goes out to the people of Ukraine. But who's got to show up here? The Ukrainians have shown up. America has showed up. Europe's got to show up. Europe's got to do their part. We can't police the world by ourselves. We can't sit there and watch Germany say, oh, I don't want to have military weapons, but I want you to defend me. That's wrong. So Europe's going to have to show up to make sure that Putin is held accountable. I know President Trump will do everything he can to get peace. I don't have high hopes that Putin will, but we'll see what happens.
Well, where is China in all of this, Senator? I mean, look, I just went through the America First investment policy with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And we walked through some of the notes on this, where the investment policy says the United States will reduce the exploitation of public and private sector capital, technology, and technical knowledge by foreign adversaries such as the PRC. What are you prepared to do in your role to stop the PRC from exploiting American investors with these companies that are traded on our exchanges that are tied to the Chinese military?
For the last 6 years, I've been trying to prevent Wall Street from funding, the Chinese companies, Chinese military. Look, it's real simple to me. The government of China wants to destroy us. 78,000 people died last year because of fentanyl. They built a military to destroy our way of life. They steal our jobs. I mean, there's nothing good about the Chinese government. So number one, every American ought to say, I'm not going to buy anything. If you get on any website, whether Amazon or anything else, you ought to know exactly where the product is made. If they don't tell you, you shouldn't buy it. That's simple. Our underwriters should not be underwriting Chinese companies. And our government's got to stop the ability for Americans, especially our government, to buy anything Chinese. It took me, 4 years to get the military to stop buying Chinese drones when I first got to the Senate. It took me 6 years to get our federal government not to buy Chinese drones. We still buy Chinese drugs for our military. This is stupid. It makes no sense what we're doing. But every American's got to show up. They want to destroy your way of life. So stop funding them, stop buying their stuff.
How much does it matter that some of those companies are on certain blacklists? Now, last week I had an interview with Roger Robinson on this program, and he mistakenly said that the Chinese battery giant Cattle had been placed on the Commerce Department's entity list. It is not. It is not on the Commerce Department's entity list. However, it is on the Pentagon's 126OH list of Chinese military companies operating in the United States. I want to make sure to make this distinction because Roger made a mistake last week when he said that Cattle was on the Department of Commerce's entity list. However, it is on the Pentagon's list of Chinese military companies. What should we be thinking about these lists? How important are these lists if these companies are still able to trade in the United States and get investor dollars?
Well, first off, we ought to be clear that if you're part of the Chinese government, clearly if you're part of the Chinese military, we should not underwrite. We should not be lending them our money. We should not be investing with them. We shouldn't be doing anything. But the reality is, look, they've decided to be our enemy. They've decided. Don't buy their stuff. Don't buy their stocks. Don't buy their services. Don't buy their apps. Don't get on TikTok. Don't do these things. It's helping their government that wants to destroy your way of life. This is simple to me. Stop doing it. All Americans have to show up and stop doing this. We have to decouple from doing anything with communist China that wants to destroy you and is killing Americans every year with fentanyl.
Is that realistic, knowing that this is the second largest economy? How easy will it be to decouple? I mean, look, President Trump is trying to get corporate America to get their supply chains in America and out of adversarial countries. But this doesn't happen overnight.
No, but we can start today. If everybody starts doing it today, it will happen sooner than you think.
You're right. You're right. Senator, it's great to catch up. Thanks so much, sir.